I'm going to analyze two of my games that I played today. I played more and I thought today was pretty successful, but these two I think there's the most to learn from. In my white game here, I played a, I guess, main line or preparation or whatever, and getting that position, I think that'd be good to analyze. And then here, I kind of messed up a couple move orders or ideas or whatever. I don't remember exactly, but I think this game will be good to learn from too. So I'm going to start with this one because it happened chronologically first. So e4, e5, knight o3, knight c6. We get a open Roy Lopez, I believe. Yeah, take it. Play d4. They play the main line. Go there. Play d5, and I elect to take like this, even though pretty much everybody takes like this. I'm taking like this, which opens up the f pawn and gets rid of this knight, which is kind of a liability. Now, it's not necessarily better to go for this line because this knight here sitting in front of the c pawn is more a liability than this knight, but it does give you different types of positions slightly. I mean, the position types are somewhat similar, but with the knights traded, it's, you know, a little different to play, a little simpler. I quite like it. There's never any pins or whatever, it's cool. So here they play this move, which is kind of the first branch for black after going for this line. And I play this move here. And the reason the bishop goes here is to go here before the bishop can end up going here. If they decide to move the bishop here now, then they've really weakened their dark squares, which is a big deal, especially, you know, they might end up playing c6, or whether or not they do, my knight and my queen are going to be able to really utilize those squares. So they play what is probably the best move, and they just go to e7, and from here I believe c3 is the move I have prepared. I believe it's the move I played, and the move I play is the move I prepared. Engine wants f4, which is interesting. The moves from my preparation, I believe, have probably stronger engines, but maybe a stronger engine would prefer f4 too. But maybe this is practically better. I don't know, but I do quite like giving myself the ability to save this and helping deal with the pawn storm. It is worth noting that if they move this here, they move the knight here immediately, then I can just simply play f4 and I have a nice advantage. Or it seems there's a better move? No. Okay, that is top engine move. But yeah. Go c3, castles. I believe I move the knight here, which I assume is best. They go here. I move the bishop back, and from this point, I am now playing on my own. I thought queen d7 would be a better move, and it probably is. Yeah, queen d7 is better than this. I don't know why you'd go here, but they do. And what did I come up with? I believe I played queen to h5 with the idea of stopping this, and I assumed they would play g6, after which I would have this square for my bishop, and I might be able to make a lot of threats on the king side. It's kind of my idea. However, this is not the engine's preference. Now this if they go here, for example, what would it think of? Well, now that I'm winning a pawn, so why are they so threatened here? They go back, f4. I mean, I have ideas of pushing this, and I guess I have a strong attack, but what would sacrificing... I mean, I guess sacrifice... Maybe it's not a pawn sack. Wait, let me think about this. Here, takes... It probably is a pawn sack, though. I don't know what else you would do. And I suppose then I have weaknesses, and they have the bishop pair, which is some form of compensation, but I find that really odd. They're, of course, not going to do that, and I wouldn't really be able to capitalize on them moving back, I think, fully, but perhaps this is better. After here, they're not really doing anything unless they take, I would think, so probably is nice to kick the knight, although it does seem kind of weak on that square. But here is kind of miserable because this pawn covers this square, so you'd have to work your way around like that. So I play this, which it seems isn't terrible from the perspective of engine evaluation, but it seems that my whole entire plan behind it is based on the fact that I did look at this game before with the engine, and I go back here and they want me to go back to queen d1. So here I've made a weakness, and I do see why perhaps this is not the worst place to have the queen and is doing things, but I also don't see why it is the best place to have the queen and why it's better than f3. Actually, it seems that over time the engine actually starts to agree. It gave it 0.3 before, and now here it's a bit higher at 0.5. Still prefers queen d1, but I don't know if I really have a concrete understanding of that, which I can tap into to really analyze it. Perhaps b4 is slightly linked to this idea again, but I don't know. And then with ideas like this, well, that doesn't matter so much because I would probably want to play f4 anyways, so I don't think playing f3 is too big of a deal. However, it seems that engine doesn't even like that. Out of curiosity, if they were to go here, for example, which I don't think they should do, should I play b4? I should, which is interesting to note. I don't fully understand. Well, yeah, it makes a lot of sense here, and then it's pretty bad. So I do understand it before that, but I still don't entirely understand these ideas here. In fact, maybe I should go back and I should figure out why. Because in my mind, they would just play this, no? Apparently this is winning. Perhaps I haven't been looking enough at ideas of f4, and because I haven't been looking enough at ideas of f4, f5, then I'm overlooking the fact that perhaps the g-pawn is strong in preventing that, maybe in some cases. Leading to bishop takes here, queen takes two. So if I go here, they go here, bishop. After all these takes, it's kind of fine. They win that back, and it's fairly even. Or there might be ideas of this, and rook coming here. So that's interesting, though. I really wasn't considering f4 enough, I suppose. And here, when I first looked at the engine, it gave it as zeros, but here, 0.2, which only makes sense to me. It does seem a bit better. But it's not as better as I would think it should be. And it is true that I don't necessarily think the bishop is doing all too much here, but I feel like it's an improvement and it's restricting their pieces more. It's an improvement that comes with the tempo, but I also don't see what else really should be my plan, if not this. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously there's nothing immediately coming from this, but I feel like I should be able to play with my other pieces to make this useful. I'm not entirely sure as to how I would do that, though. With the bishop staring down here and c6, I don't really have a way of ever breaking, not on the king side, and in a weird way this is kind of bad at breaking. I don't really know what I should do, other than maybe move the queen here, move the knights, then move the pawn. And after that, it does seem pretty promising to me. Then with the rook lift, yeah, so I feel like there's something there. But, I don't know. Here they do this, which now gives me these squares. I'm never really threatening to checkmate them or anything, especially with the bishop there. I mean, it does reveal the rook, but yeah, I get why this is a pretty bad move. And now they have to waste the tempo moving the rook here, too. And this is Engine's suggestion, which I didn't understand. I guess with f4, you're pushing here and there's big threats, so perhaps that is the case, but yeah, I guess it does just get it off here and it wants me to play f4, which is, again, I'm just not playing f4, which is a little odd, because that is kind of one of the main reasons why I do choose this knight takes move. But at the same time, I wouldn't expect it to be so strong. But I instead decide to go for h4, which, I mean, could be a little annoying, can get tickled, and this square can kind of get blocked. But I believe I had a bit more reasoning to it, and I thought, like here, and I still have to deal with it. I guess bishop d1 is kind of a key part, although I don't know if I'd consider this at that point. I do end up playing bishop d1 later. Oh, if this happens, then they hang the pawn. Yeah. Is this not winning? Yeah, it's fine, I guess. Apparently it's maybe not the Engine's top choice, which I find shocking. But yeah, I don't think anything hangs later, although things get kind of messy. But I should be able to hold everything, hold this pawn and all. Especially with f4, so yeah. It's shocking. So I play this, they push this, and this should be very abusable apparently. If I remember correctly, I'm supposed to just tempo the knight and then try to get in here. And then ideas of sacking the bishop become very strong, which I missed. Instead I do this, which guards both of these pawns. I did also consider this move in the game, but just because it tempos the knight and guards this pawn, I didn't immediately consider this really, I don't think. But here I decide to play bishop d1, I believe. Keeping it on. And not trading on their terms. I don't want the queen getting active. I'd rather them get my rook active if they take. Here they move the king here, and this is a good opportunity to move the knight. Although I missed their move actually. They play this, which I hadn't considered. And it gets in my way of my plan of just throwing the knight here, moving the queen here, and destroying them, because now they can trade the knights after that. The Engine actually wants me to keep the queen on and then maybe play against the knight, I assume. They want the knight to get moved, which I think is insane. Let's go with this suggestion instead. Oh, knight d4 is pretty strong. Yeah, let's say they play this. Am I really taking the bishop? That's doubling their pawns, though. It doesn't seem to be a winning advantage, even if it's better. Rook e1. I do think there could be ideas of sacking the rook at some point. But let's say they play something nonsensical. How does the rook sack fare? No, apparently this is incredibly losing. Which I don't think is for a complicated reason. I think it's just because I have no compensation with the attack, and there's just nothing there. It's interesting. So I do this, which I guess just makes the game even. Also, I don't know why taking it with the h pawn would be acceptable. I'm surprised it's 0. Oh, yeah, I guess it's Still a bit better. My position's a bit better. I'm surprised it's so low. Certainly not doing amazing, but I feel like I have the chances. But with c6 and this pawn maybe being weak at some point, I could kind of see it. Because I have to guard these, and it's just They play this, which they want me to play f3, which I don't understand. Unless it wants me to like go crazy. It does. g4. It doesn't want me to go crazy, which is just astounding to me. I mean, yeah, they can't really immediately get their pieces here to attack my king and my queen's at least in front of it. It's like, okay, I guess, but yeah, I don't know about that one. I'm not really sure I'm seeing that. Still prefers even f4 though, which I don't think is really winning ever. Also, interestingly, there were, I think later in the game, ideas of this, but my opponent never blundered that. Here they want this, which is just so... They actually like the sack, which I wonder if they like the sack later. I don't remember. I'm going to assume not, because I don't remember it. And I guess with all this, but... Okay, go here, you move the rook here. And I just... Is this not a move? Okay, it is a move. So you just take. Let's g4 instead. I could figure out exactly why, but I'm not gonna bother. If you take it, is it fine? Yeah, it seems like that's winning. Although there are maybe some more complications this way. But yeah. Okay. I didn't recognize the strength of that. But I make the natural move, moving this here. They take me, I just take here. And here, instead of doubling their pawns, I'm looking for something more, which apparently is wrong. I'm just really shocked that, you know, it could ever want this. Let's say they take this way. I mean, really? This can't be that much better, I don't think. I mean, I guess en passant does really just ruin them. But I thought, I calculated this in the game actually. I just calculated that, and how is this winning? Sure, we can do this, but I mean, why not? And I guess you can kind of try to get it up. And this is annoying, but say they just do this. Scherzies. Well, if I defend it with c6, then I guess they do get in. That's actually kind of key, and that's weak. So now looking at it, I guess I kind of get it. I'm not exactly sure how to go about winning this, but I do recognize maybe its strength. After this, why is there this? Yeah, so I didn't just recommended this nonsensically, because I have to go back. Go here, what am I actually going to do to try to win? I want f3, which I guess maybe these pawns become weak, and then with this threat and all that, and then I find a way in, and once I find a way in, using my strong grip and the fact that they have to be attentive to this pawn, I guess it's very strong. So yeah. But I didn't see all that when I calculated this. Which I mean, I calculated taking the bishop many times. To varying degrees of actual calculation, but I thought about it a lot. This looks pretty good for me. With the rook, go here. I don't really understand this move. Why would I ever play this? I guess the idea is just to lift both rooks and have them both here. Like, if I just follow the line, I assume, yeah, it does go there. And then, okay. That makes sense. Just logically. But instead I just went with the protecting the pawn route, and while I move this rook here, now this rook defends the pawn. So that was kind of an idea there. And at this point the game felt like very drawn to me. So I'm thinking what's going to happen. Pieces will probably trade eventually, and I want to be able to move my king to the center quicker, and it's faster getting to the center if I can just go through this pawn. So that's why I play this move. I felt like it might not be the most accurate move, but you know, it makes it so I can get to the center faster. It does want f4, which, I mean, I did consider defending this pawn this way many times, but I think I was prioritizing king safety. I don't really know. Play this. This kind of forces them to make a decision with their pawn structure. It's a decent move. And here I go a little crazy. I think it likes it more than 0.4 if you let it sit for white. I feel like I looked at this position before and it was more like 0.6 or 0.7, but I guess not. And it not being makes me like this move more. I quite like the idea of just defending things here and just opening myself up to, you know, get things going. And it seems like letting the computer say actually it now thinks this position is better than equal. Although it thinks it's a draw, but thinks it's better than equal, whereas actually before it didn't immediately. So I think maybe that has something to do with human reasoning, or just luck and random chance. But I'm gonna say human reasoning, that you know, I was able to come up with this idea. And now there are a few issues here, but I'm always in time. Or if they go here, I can go like there, and everything's always good. And if they go back up here, then I cover these two entry squares, making it not a dead draw. They attack the pawn. I feel the need to defend it. And now here, I move the king over to stop them from moving this square. I also consider this square, but this square is just like, I don't know, it can get checked randomly maybe. Probably not. In fact, I probably would go to the square at this point. What does the engine think of that? So this square is also more towards the center, which maybe makes it a bit preferable. Thinking more, I almost kind of feel like I like this move more, although that could maybe come into play. I mean, I did play moves like that later, but that's also defending against the queen there, and a queen can't just go from here to here in one move. So I don't know. So they move the rook over. I have to defend it. They push the pawn. This attacks the pawn and prepares to double these, which helps me defend the pawn. So they push, and I have to take it. This trade happens. I go here, move it down, tagging the queen. I just take the pawn, and they go after that. But now I'm up a pawn, which is pretty nice. But I don't really have any way to make any more progress. I have no real way to push these pawns, and this pawn's not going anywhere. And I can't go after this pawn really very easily, or if at all. But I go here, just trying to go after it, and to go here. There's a queen there currently, but yeah, it spies more squares. It hits this square, which is probably an important one. But yeah, this queen move is pretty safe. Instead they go for a queen trade, which I am happy to accept. And at this point, I just move the rook over here, which allows me to get my king in. So the moves I'm making are very obvious. Just bring the king towards the center, harass the pawn. This is actually a blunder. It's still a draw, and I'm curious as to what exactly the computer would do. This is... Oh, because it's no longer check. Yeah, the fact that they made this check was a pretty stupid move, which I realized during the game. Because otherwise, they did this, for example, and I took this, they would take this pawn. But in the game, they are unable to do that because they have to respond to this rook taking the pawn because it's check, and then this one guarder can guard against this, and this has to take this. So here my opponent does this, which is a ridiculous move. Here you can at least win the pawn and try to, you know, push these up the board, which would have been scary to play. This is certainly the type of game I choke a lot, but they don't go for the move where I could choke, you know? Like if they went here, I could mess it up. I could over push, I could do this, I could do that, and either draw or lose, possibly, even though it's a winning position. But once they go here, this is just, they can't check me, so I'm doing great. And then they do this, which I don't know what that does at all. I guess they're just trying to stop me from putting, they want to run the rook behind there with this, I don't know. So I do this, which is a bit nonsensical, as seen with my next moves. So go here. They move it over, which is weird. I don't get what that does, but here I'm just trying to do this, and they go back. Not, I would have just checked them, although they could have maybe root the rook, but yeah. At this point, I just did this, and it's a pretty trivial win. So onto this next game. So I get to a King's Indian defense. Let's see. I think that's cool to have up. They push, which I like. I was really hoping they would push instead of that. And now here, from, you know, looking at analysis boards, I remembered that this is the top engine move. I'm pretty sure it is. No, it was a5. I would have played a5 before today, but it seems that they're put relatively equal here. I don't know if this is really running though, but I would have played a5 before today. But knight c5, and because seeing that be the move so many times when I don't expect it, and I guess the thing is, you know, they have to actually defend the pawn. So they defend it with the queen. And I believe I play a5, yeah. So no errors in my play yet. They move this here, and oftentimes there are ideas of, you know, weird pawn structures, such as here and this takes, or in this case this here and that, which I don't really get. But and this is partially why I want to look at the game. So I played this, trying to deal with this, but instead I could have just played knight to g4, which attacks the bishop, and presumably they take it. I take it back, and now knowing what happens in the game, I think, yeah, this grip here is pretty good. They can't ever push this here, and I quite like this, actually. I think it's pretty nice. So I think that's kind of what I want to keep in mind from the game. Although I would like to go back to that, because I was thinking, like, you know, are there any weird, like, tricks such as... Well, no, my knight's defending this pawn. Yeah, there are no useful discoveries. instead I defend it. They move this back, which actually I found to be quite a good move. I don't remember exactly why. Does it have to do with the bishop? Maybe. It might also have to do with the knights trying to come to the square, or this square, and now the bishop eyes it. Yeah, I think that's the main reason. I don't know. No, but knight g4 still... Yeah, maybe I forgot that the bishop saw this, because I feel like I had ideas of this. Yeah, I think I forgot either that the bishop sees this, or somehow I magically forgot that I'm attacking the bishop. I was like, f3, but f3 wouldn't make sense with the bishop there? I don't remember exactly. I think f3 was an idea, though, going through my head, because the knight moved here, just as something that they might play at some point. But I don't know if that's really a logical thing to have go through my head. Huh, yeah, that's odd. I play this, which just stops the pin. It's not a very good move, because pinning it isn't necessarily always the greatest thing for them to try. It's defend it, and it's just can move the queen at some point. Get out of the pin, maybe go here, and if they take it, I'm glad that they got rid of their bishop, so that was a poor move for me. They push this, and then I play a4 with the idea that now this en passant, and they can never harass this knight. And that knight's just permanently there, kind of. Or they have to trade a piece. But I actually missed what happens in the game. Now I no longer have the knight defending it, and they just win a pawn, and these pawns are very powerful together, so that's a problem, and I try to generate kingside play. I don't really mind how I handled this. Okay. Now here I mess up a little. Here I played this move, because I missed this. What I should have played was knight here. Though maybe they just play h4 and it's all for nothing anyways. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter, because of h4. Although maybe I should have made them find that, although it's not too hard to find. Because now after this, it's like, you kind of have to move the rook. But I thought that if they see this, it's like, yeah, you know? But I was thinking, okay, maybe... No, so I was like, okay, I do think they'll see it very clearly, so I just did this. But this doesn't actually become something. I think there was some idea as to how I could swindle them. Oh, I had ideas of swindling them. Let's say they do this, I do this, which actually might happen in the game. I think it does. Oh, I took it back. And then just hoped they would mess up there. But then they play that move, which stops me. But I had ideas of here of maybe like pushing this, them taking it. And I thought, okay, well that would be back rank. I forgot that there'd be a queen here. Even if there wasn't a queen here, because they moved it here, for example, there'd probably be a rook here, so those ideas don't really work, unfortunately. So, what I want to take away from this game is mainly here. I want to take away that this pawn structure isn't necessarily a bad thing. That's why I wanted to look at this game. Also, there's a game I played today at 96% accuracy, which I think I'm going to go over for kicks, but I don't really... Actually, I do kind of have things to gain from looking at it, because I didn't play very well. Like, sure, I played at 96% accuracy, but that was like easy. They messed up, and I got a nice brilliancy. Calling it a brilliancy is a bit over-exaggerating it, but chess.com gave me one. But yeah, I did not play very well this game. But for kicks, I'll go over it, and I think there's also maybe a lesson I could take from it. So actually, I had no clue what to do. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I haven't looked at. I think of this as the Archangel. I don't know if this is really the Archangel. This is the classical. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I said D3 makes sense with the other things I play. I thought A4 would work. Here you probably go back to A2, or maybe take it. I doubt it. Well, no, you can take it. Yeah. Right. Maybe you don't. Okay, it considers that a book move. Bishop A2? That's also... No, it's giving me A4 as a book move. God damn it. Okay, if I take it, what's the evaluation? Uh-huh. My fear is this. C takes, this takes. Oh, well, that brings a rook. But, yeah, I guess after I take this, I do win a pawn, don't I? You know, for example, let's say, once H6, sure. And then I would just take this. And, you know, I'm up a pawn. It's a, you know, weak pawn, but it is a pawn. So, yeah, that would have worked. But another idea I would have in this position is A2, which is kind of like something else that I play. And, okay, B4, but maybe like knight D2, what does it want? Yeah, knight D2 is shown. H3, stopping the pin. So yeah. They do this, and I decided to just play C3. It wants knight C3, which is certainly a thing that I need to play, but the thing with knight C3 is it's kind of not really in any of my plans. Like, it's in some lines I've looked at, but I don't really remember those lines the best. And I don't know if I know this position either. Although actually I might. This could definitely have transposed into a kind of position that I would play. I don't know. But C3 is common and it's kind of a plan, whereas knight C3 just sometimes is the best move. And I don't really look at it so much as a plan there. Because it's just kind of the obvious strong move. It's like, and then I guess maybe there are plans to it because it's so strong, but oftentimes it's strong for reasons that aren't necessarily super obvious sequences, but are more so long term, just because the knight belongs on c3, just as a general piece. So, I play this, but that's not really what I have an issue with. Here I play h3. I decided the pin would be annoying. Engine doesn't mind h3. But it wants knight a3, which actually is kind of seed. In fact, it almost feels like this exact position is something I've looked at. Although, I don't think that's true. But yeah, if they were to play b4, which I think in the positions I've looked at, the pawn isn't on c3. But here, knight c4 happens, and that's very strong, and this might even be a better version of the line I'm thinking of, which I could probably come up with. It's in, like, knight b7, bishop b7 is bishop b7 line, I believe. Yeah, I think if I thought long enough, and I went back to the beginning, I could come up with the exact line where you go knight a3, but yeah. I should be able to spot knight a3 here. A takes b5 is also a move. I'm curious as to what it would take back with. Take back with probably the bishop. Okay. Yeah. Oh, knight a3 is probably a move here. Okay, it's showing knight c3, but... Oh, no, but the... Well... Wait, why? I don't... Why is it... Oh, they moved the bishop off the diagonal. I was like, wait, how does that change? The bishop's no longer on this diagonal. Out of curiosity, if they take it, I assume that's bad for me? Oh, I guess I have nothing defending this too. Maybe in the other line, yeah, in the other line, a key element of the line is that you play bishop to d2. Whereas here, I haven't played bishop d2. And if I were to play bishop d2, then what would happen? Knight a5 is shown, but yeah, bishop takes is also an option, making it not worth it. But here, really? I guess this doubles my pawns. With all three of these pieces on the same file, it does look a little weak, and I guess there's this, so it might be kind of specific to stuff, but that's not the best move. Is it worth looking longer at this? I think I kind of got out of it. Well, maybe not, because I think if I do really understand what's going on, like queen a6 is the only move for an advantage. What? So is the engine just... Wait, I think that engine's hallucinating positions. I hate when it does that. I might need a refresh. See, yeah, that's problematic. I am going to refresh this, and I'm just going to disregard what happened there, I guess. But I assumed the engine move there was fine, and then it messed up and broke. So here, what actually happens? They play h6, and looking at this position, what did I play? Bishop e3, yeah. So I wasn't really entirely sure what was happening. I wonder how maybe bishop d2 does. Because oftentimes the bishop does end up here and then c3 gets pushed. But actually, so this is one of the key moves that I was interested in looking at, and it seems that I was right in playing it. I believe the engine showed another move above it, but it's about the ideas, and you know, I'm not going to play every top engine move, so yeah, I'm fine with that. And it does like this pawn structure, which I think is really what I wanted to look at. Now here, knight b to d2, I believe is what I play. What it does is it helps protect this pawn, trying to play this, and with a knight and eventually the bishop covering this, that's really nice. Actually, I think at this point I hadn't seen that the bishop could cover it, so I was a little concerned about how I'm going to push this with, you know, a bishop and a knight staring at it, but I do get the bishop move, which actually my opponent makes me play with this, so that's very nice. Bishop a2 is also interesting, keeping it on the diagonal. That is very often actually a move in these kinds of positions, and that's worth keeping in mind. So they play c3, and here I play this, which seems to be a good move. Yeah, okay. Engine's fine with it. I think strategically it makes sense. I don't have a person telling me about strategy or, you know, a smart AI model, unlike any of the nonsense models used for chess. Not that... I mean, I feel like often the AI websites aren't really using much AI. I guess the chess coach thing might, but that's kind of like a preset. And what is the AI? It's programmed, I don't know. But yeah, the chess coach is pretty kind of like that, I guess, and that's maybe a big part of chess.com, so big part of those premium subscriptions. But yeah, I feel like AI websites for chess often have things offered that aren't just AI, but yeah, chess AI is terrible. But yeah, I don't have anyone to really tell me, and the engine finds it good enough, so yeah. I was concerned about b4. That is something that I saw. I thought that'd be kind of a decent thing for them to consider. C takes d4 seems like a terrible move to me. I don't really understand that. And I don't think I will understand it after doing this, but you know what? Let's just go through some of these. I guess after b4, then it's like, oh, well, there's a weakness on the C file. Rook c1. So after this, well, then I'd have that probably too anyways, right? So, well, I guess rook c1 deals with the future weakness, because this will happen, and okay. But then there's that. Interesting. It's definitely interesting. So I guess that's why they want that. But I saw b4. I didn't think taking was a good move. I was kind of hoping they would take, if anything. So they move the queen over. And what this does is it defends against like these tactics, for example. But I thought, okay, I want to get my knight here. And the rook sack looked pretty promising. I'm going over this game way more than I planned on doing it, but whatever. So here, play the best move, rook takes. I don't know why it's telling me there's an error classifying, but it's what I get for using a bad laptop. I really do need to go to like a computer repair shop and fix up my expensive laptop. So here, play this, and Engine doesn't even want you to take back. Wait, queen e7, what does that do? Oh, because it wins the knight back, maybe. Wait. Rook takes h6 though. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a cool way to ease the pain a little. But they take, which is what I calculated, and this is very bad. I mean, the other line is also very terrible for them, so if they played that, they would have been saved, but maybe I should have seen that at least. Yeah. So I was thinking, you know, I played this move. I decided, you know, yeah, I do want to play this. And then I thought even longer, because I wasn't really sure whether or not playing queen to h5 or knight to f5, or, yeah, both are 5. First was better. My one concern was that after this, I thought that maybe this would be problematic, and because I want to be able to move my knight here, but now I don't really see how I have any attack. Let's say they play a nonsense move. Well, okay, let's say they play a less bad nonsense. Yeah, I don't know. But my thing here is like, yeah, I kind of have to, you know, get the rook here, and that felt very slow. Which, you know, with the engine's reassurance, I can tell you that, yeah, it doesn't matter how slow it is. They're not doing anything to deal with my attack. They don't really have any defensive resources. Yeah, that felt kind of slow to me. So I play this knight move, which means basically that either they have to move the rook. Wait, now it's telling me it's the best move. Okay, I assume the other move's best, but both are fine. I don't know. I play this move, which pretty much forces this. The alternative, I mean, they could still play that, and then they could play this line too, but they go, I don't know, here, then queen g4. Oh, the knight now actually covers, and then I have the checkmate there. Actually, I didn't even consider that. Yeah, I didn't consider that move at all. So, like, just whatever leads to that. Yeah, this was not actually my consideration. I probably would have saw it in the game. Like, you know, if they didn't move this rook, seeing the actual position on the board, I would have seen that 9 times out of 10. But when calculating the line, But when calculating the line, I didn't see that. So I thought that, you know, obviously they should run this way, and I calculated that. But I thought that, okay, they'd run this way, and I'd have this. And I wasn't really sure, but, you know, with this and just everything, and just knight discoveries, obviously this is winning. So, if I go here, it doesn't matter. So, I was like, okay, they have to move the rook, which is true. And then I was like, okay, now I can move my queen in. And the reason I move my queen in here is so, after, you know, they go here, I get this with the check. And the queen, if the rook stays, for example, stops him from escaping. which I don't know is really relevant based on this, but whatever. Then they want rook f1. That's some weird calculation I don't care about. This is winning, obviously, and I just went with it. I'm very happy with my decision. So now here, if they go this, I have this move, utilizing the pin, which forks and wins the queen. Maybe there's something else, but whatever. Now here I can do this, which forces them here, and afterwards I can take it, and I can win back the exchange, and I am up 3 pawns. 2 of them are these passed pawns, which my king is just going to run up the board. And from this point, it's very trivial. There are things I could be explaining, but yeah. Okay. So I went over 3. Last one more so for ego, I guess. Because, I mean, this is probably... Well, it's not the best game I've ever played. I played better games than this. I have played higher accuracy, too. Other than, like, obvious, like, 100s, because they get checkmated in, like, 5 moves. Such as... Okay, this is irrelevant, but... I've played d4 here... Here... This is a cool trap. If anyone is like lower elo and they're playing the Dutch and they want some free wins, this will happen some of the time. Then you play this, and if they take the bishop, this is checkmate. But anyways, I mean, I have played a higher accuracy game, even at lower elo, just because the game was just pretty much us trading pieces. So it was nothing too crazy. But then I won the game because they blundered, and they, instead of making like a diagonal move with their king, they wasted tempo, and then I won by a tempo. But yeah, it's not my highest accuracy game, and it's not my best played game. There's nothing really too great about it. I mean, I played fine, but my opponent just blundered a tactic, and it was very easy to play. So I think that will be it.